My name is Karen Vaccaro. I am Italian. All of my grandparents came over on the boat from Sicily. They were immigrants, my mother's parents and my father's parents. And my nana, my mom's mother, she was always telling me stories about when she grew up in Sicily and as a little girl and came over on the boat. And she'd tell me all these stories and she'd say, Karen, you should write a book about my life. Go get a paper and pencil, write it down. And so my mom and my Aunt Josie, her sister, my grandmother's daughters, went out and they bought her a tape recorder and a box of tapes to record her stories. But she never recorded them. And I allowed those stories to be lost. And so I decided to interview women with more life experience than I had.
You've been acting for 30 years, lots of different places, stage, film, television, on and off Broadway, especially in Chicago, lots of Joseph Jefferson Awards, and done some directing as well at the university and also at the Station Theater. How did you get involved in this project?
We interviewed seniors in the Urbana area, and after getting 15 hours of interviews, we edited it down and then ended up focusing on 3 women and created this show.
Karen plays all 3 women.
Right.
It's a one-woman show, and she sings.
These are their words verbatim that we are...
From the interview. And Karen does a wonderful job of using the audience, too. And I think that's difficult in a one-person play, because you don't have another actor to play off of.
Right.
So she really allows the audience to be the other actor. In a way, the audience is
the other character in the play.
the other character in the play, and is Karen doing the interview.
In their exact words.
Part of what binds them together is their history as artists. Dorothy was an actress, Char a visual artist, and later in life came to poetry, and Mary Agnes is a piano player.
And so tonight, I'm going to be telling the stories of 3 women. Dorothy.
Okay, I'm Dorothy Ann Osgood. What else should I say?
Mary Agnes.
I'm Mary Agnes Hammaker Bates, and I'm the pianist.
Char.
Charlene Janine Mary Arlene Pico.
Amen.
In their exact words.
You kind of think you know who these women are, and then as it unfolds, you find that you're surprised, both by what happens to them, what they disclose, and by what they think about the world based on those experiences. It definitely makes one question stereotypes.
Yes, and the way you look at everyone, and especially those with more life experience than you.
You see someone, anyone, but specifically a woman of age, and you think you know who they are and what makes them up, and you have no idea.
Now, when I first met Dorothy, it was in Prairie Winds Community for the older adult. And I remember she had on a knit cap, she smoked cigarettes.
We go in this side door here.
She walked in the room and took over. And she said to me, I'm really lucky. Beauty runs in my family. But really, when I was younger, everybody called me Glamour Girl. I was always looking in the mirror. I was very conceited. I'll admit it.
You know, back then, we looked so healthy. Well, I love attention, you know, and Karen is a good listener.
When I met Char, she requested to meet at a neutral place. And I remember I brought a computer to the interview to record the conversation and to take notes. And I asked Char, how do you spell your last name? And she said, no, don't put my name on that thing. I don't use them, and I will never put my name on the internet.
I'm a thinker, I'm a learner. Give me information. I want to incorporate, I want to become more.
You got your credit cards, you've got no trust at this time, because they don't have safeguards. But that's as a senior. That's one thing as a senior. I'm massive about it, and I'm like real dictatorial. No, I'm not using credit cards, and all my friends do. No, yeah, you know what? Tai Chi. I live my life in Tai Chi mode, you know?
Tai Chi is wonderful. It's a very gentle martial art, and I try to keep up on those exercises and do the 7 movement form that Master Yang researched and broke down from the 100+ movements to 48. I figured I could handle 7.
When I met Mary Agnes, it was a totally different experience. She was totally decked out. Hair, stockings, makeup. She invited us to her home. And we sat in the piano room where there was this wonderful grand piano. And she had scores of notes and photographs and newspaper articles. And she prepared much differently, almost as if she were going to teach a class.
I was born in Richmond, Missouri, which is a small town about 35 miles east of Kansas City, Missouri. It was a musical family. Both mother and father were musical. She auditioned for Chicago Lyric Opera, and they accepted her, but she decided to get married and have children instead.
They had to get me away from the piano bench. He had to leave orders with the housekeepers to get little Mary Agnes off the piano bench and outdoors to play at least an hour a day. Let's just say that my musical career began with my mother at age 4. Kansas City paper says, the Missouri girl's a prodigy. At age 4, she has starred in 2 recent concerts in area towns. I could play anything by ear. My 9-year-old sister was playing and taking piano lessons, but I would play it verbatim. Mother thought, well, I think we got something here. Careful.
The speech patterns and the way they spoke were everything. In fact, the moment we started transcribing, it was a great part of the process because as I was listening and transcribing, it was like they became me on a cellular level. Kansas City paper said, the Missouri girl's a prodigy. I think I remember I came to your house and was talking about leather shoes. Have you heard of such a thing? And the Mary Jane, and that was pretty instantaneous.
Sentimental journey.
Karen, press play. You know that song? Oh yeah, Sentimental Journey. Oh, it's a beautiful song. Oh, I remember I met this kid once when I was 15, just crazy about him. It's about 1939, a roller rink in Marson, Illinois.
When I was 15, I saw Lee Austin, and I tell you, it was just...
I saw him out in the middle, and I thought, oh my God, he's a doll.
Here's the thing, though. He graduated that June. I was in high school, and he come up here, joined the Air Corps at Rantoul.
I thought about him for years. Funny how that works.
Did you ever see him again, or?
Well, we wrote.
Because that's what I wanted, to go off and marry my sweetheart who came home from the war. That's why Sentimental Journey always got to me.
Ended up being married to a German girl.
Oh, wow. And when did you meet your husband? I mean, when did you
you want to hear a story?
Yeah, I do.
My husband was 7 years younger than me. His name was Harold Osgood. I was 13, He was standing over there by the picnic table. He was 6 years old. I thought, what a dumb-looking kid. The next thing I remember, he had joined the Army at 17. But you know, the Army did a lot for him. He's really cute and more confident, you know. And he came back without a scratch. Real funny guy, skinny. Harold, he came without a scratch. I was so skinny, I turned sideways. The bullets went in front and back. What a smile. And a great kid, a wonderful person. So we went out together, and 6 months later we got married. So I actually waited for him to grow up.
I think it was meant to be, because later on I met my husband, who's a real neat guy. And like I says, I'm hard to live with, so. Karen, stop, just press stop.
Music was so important to all three of them.
It's music from the 30s and the 40s and some from the 50s.
We try to create a kind of jazz club feeling.
I could play anything. I could sing or heard on the radio. I've made thousands of lists I take with me to the places that I play. Love Me Tender, Let Me Call You Sweetheart, but these are songs about love. Love Is Blue, I'll Be Loving You Always, I Love You Truly, L-O-V-E, this is Elvis or something, I don't know. Let a Smile Be Your Umbrella, Dear Hearts and Gentle People, I Left My Heart in San Francisco, getting to the 40s now. What the World Needs Now Is Love, Gypsy Love Song, Portrait of My Love, I'm in the Mood for Love, Love's a Many Splendored Thing, One Hand, One Heart, Peg of my heart, I love you. You made me love you. I had sent out to Reader's Digest for these albums, but mostly I don't go out and buy popular music because I can play it.
I guess that was one of my biggest fears. Will they think I'm making fun of them because I'm imitating to the nth degree?
But it's more than mimicry. It's you capturing that one moment in time when the story came out.
These were captured moments, period. It wasn't, I think to go back and fact check and rewrite, it wouldn't be the same play.
So, before I was born, my mother grew up in Chicago in the 20s and 30s, and there were like unique cultures there, like Al Capone and some other mafioso. So my mother, when she'd be walking with the kids to the candy store, they would see the bodies in the alley and they would hear the gunshots and see the police squad car chasing after the mob. It's just all part of Chicago culture. One day, while on the corner with some friends at Holy Family, again, a squad car in hot pursuit of one of those criminal elements hits my mother,
rammed into her and sent her flying some 300 feet in the air.
She's about 9 or 11 years old. She was in a deep coma for several months. Babchi said to her doctor, "My daughter, I want her to go to college. Will she go?"
Because she was the firstborn, Babchi decided you must get education.
And the doctor said, "Oh, well, she'll be lucky if she comes out of this and becomes a domestic." And Ma said she heard that and she thought, "I'll show you."
Who do you think you are telling me my life's destiny?
I'm gonna become more than a domestic. So in that Polish pioneering spirit of Babci and Jaja coming over on the boat with just the clothes on their back to start a new life, Ma thought, I'm not giving up. So she ended up surviving, and the nuns ended up retraining her to walk, to write, to speak, to move, and she did go to college.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, is this the first play you've written?
Well, I don't know that I wrote it. As this project develops and we go from interview to editing and then into rehearsal and now through a film, through our interpretation, do we get closer or farther away from the actual person?
Went to college, went to Lindenwood College, a fine girls' school in St. Charles, Missouri. It was very expensive. Now, this was during the Depression. I had the 1 year only at Lindenwood.
1 year. My father said, I'm
just broke. The wheel wasn't broke. The business was still stable, but it was hurting, and he couldn't take from it. Didn't want to. I said, that'd be fine. I'd be happy to stay home and teach piano and just have fun. Besides, I'd love to go to Kansas City Conservatory of Music, which I did.
We could not possibly manage to do someone's life story, any of the three of them, anybody, in a play. Any editing whatsoever will in some way change the context of what is said. How far away or closer to the real Shar do we get through these different levels of interpretation?
So, as a second generation, I was born and raised in the Snuggle Inn that Mom and Dad bought from Bob Cheat and Zsa Zsa. So, the Snuggle Inn. Now, it's a 24-hour day license. So in Chicago,
the big band players would have to end their gigs at the 3 o'clock license in Chicago.
When they're done playing music, they're all hepped up. They don't want to go to sleep. So they come to the Snuggle Inn.
The Snuggle Inn, the Snuggle Cottages, Snuggle Courts. It was a very snuggly business.
Folks like the guy with the clarinets, what was his name? Benny Goodman. And the famous drummer. My mom and I always visited his gravesite. Krupa. Gene Krupa. Good Polish boy and a very famous drummer from the time. Oh, darn. I wish I'd have taken notes. Many of the big name stars came and they jammed and they drank and they played pinochle. That was a very big thing at the time. So everything from big band to Rosemary Clooney and Dean Martin, and in the earlier days, Jimmy Durante. I remember entertaining the customers in the early days when Jimmy Durante came on board. They had the Juicy Fruit gum wrapper, and I'd put the gum wrapper on the edge of my nose, and I'd get my dad's hat. And whenever Jimmy Durante sang, ink, a dink, a dink, a dink, a dink, a dink, a doo, I went around doing the Jimmy Durante. Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are, ha-cha-cha-cha.
A dink, a dink. Hey, that'll do. Oh, you're nuts. Get your dinky, dinky do out of here.
You want to read this poem my grandson wrote on California? Okay. He had to write it for English. I got an A in it. I got it memorized. A relative poem. She's a crazy one. She's on my mom's side.
She talks to everyone, everything, and walks everywhere.
Which is true. She's very sweet.
And very opinionated.
There isn't one person she couldn't make friends with. My grandmother lives on coffee and cigarettes.
My grandma's a cat lover. She's probably saved over 20 cats through her life. Now I want to say something. Could it be they train those cats and dogs to sing like that?
Her letter to her town paper in Urbana helped add $2 million to the library's budget.
And that's because people donated after that. The mayor didn't give any money.
she's met President Clinton and Jesse Jackson. And that's it. Now, he was born in California, raised in California, and I would see him when I went out there. But we had this one day alone together when he was 17. Isn't that sad? One day, and he wrote this poem, and it was wonderful. One afternoon, we walked around, we sat, we went to campus. He got a burger down at campus. We stopped in at Jumer's. That's when they still served meals. Have you been there? And he says to me, "Grandma, you should be president." My husband was the first in line. They listened to his heart and said, "Young man, step into that line over to the right." Just listened to his heart and knew he had a heart condition and could not go to war.
And all through the war, I played bridge with a group of 16 of us, 4 tables of bridge. I was the only one that had a husband still here that wasn't in the South Pacific or in the European theater.
He says, "I want to go. There's a wonderful plant out in Washington, state of Washington, southeast corner."
We want to send you to Hanford, Washington.
Hanford, Washington? That's where they made the atomic bomb. That's for a start. Do not speculate amongst yourselves what we are doing. Just do the job you're told to do. Oh, but they knew it was some sort of ammunition. So he went to Hanford, Washington, and left me with 2 babies, children.
For 5 months. I'd never been away from my husband. We were 6th grade sweethearts all through school, and then got married, except for my going to college to Lindenwood in St. Charles. And, then it was just too much. He came home.
So for me, it was an incredibly profound experience to be a young grade school kid every day going to Mass and hearing the Gregorian chanting and singing in Latin. Ave, Ave Dominus, Dominus tecum. So for me, when I think about college and the experimentation of things like pot and LSD, well, I never did LSD, but I did do pot. You could see the sort of mind, motion, spiritual enhancement of being in the church. And the sound vibrating Gregorian chanting in Latin, that seemed very high art, very transformative.
When I was in 6th grade, I had to be the kindergarten room monitor for the kids in kindergarten. And so it was near Easter, and there were like these statuettes of Mary and Joseph and everybody.
And the kindergarten kids, there's like 12 of them, and just me, one 6th grader, trying to be the room monitor. Well, these kids are running up and down the aisle. I'm saying, "Please sit down." Well, who are they going to listen to? Sister in the gown, or me? So there's Mother Mary on Sister's desk. The kids get real close. They hit Sister's desk. In slow motion, I see Mother Mary going down and dying, and my body, I left my body. So Sister got a hold of me. She took me out of my class, my 6th grade class. She marched me up in front of that kindergarten class, stood me up in front of them, and began to slap me from one end of the front of the room to the other. They slapped me
because I killed the Virgin Mary. Yeah, I wet
my pants and I leave, and I've got to tell you, I have no memory now of what happened afterwards. And I have my friends who say, how can you still be Catholic? It's like,
well, how can you still be Catholic?
Because I'll tell you, those Latin masses, that informed me, that helped me transcend and transform myself. Just the feeling, the rapture of my young developing soul. I was in soul personhood formation.
I hope I've never been conceited. I mean, I've never tried to flaunt my talent. It just people hear about me and they ask me to come and do things, you know.
A dress factory was built in town. Didn't last but 10 or 12 years. But those women sitting at sewing machines all day, we didn't have exercise groups or workout places that we have now. The city father said, we've got to offer these women something. They said they can learn to dance. And guess what? I taught a line of 25 women tap dancing certain days of the week. Shuffle step, shuffle step, shuffle step, tap step, shuffle step, arms out. That's 3, shuffle step, shuffle step, shuffle step, and stop. That was kind of fun.
I'm glad I was born with a talent. Let me tell you something. I can sing and dance and act, and I'll tell you something. I think people who can sing and dance and act get a lot of frustration and heat out of their system. I really do.
Let me tell you, if I could go back, it would be the summer I was 22. A little village, Williams Bay. Well, I was in summer stock there. It was just such a good feeling. Real pretty. You don't get a feeling like that very often. And I remember this girl. Her name was Kay. And we were walking down the street. And somebody says, oh, are you the actresses who are here this summer doing summer stock? And let me tell you, I'd like to go back to that summer. We sit in a coffee shop. All we talk about was acting. And then after the first play, I tried out for the second part, but I didn't get it because they said my voice was too young. And I remember I walked out back, and there's this young actor standing there, and I started to cry, and he gave me his handkerchief. But I realize now, big-time acting's too cutthroat. The director had his favorite. Kay was his favorite, and he was kind of nuts and kind of mean.
I think just the nature of telling stories involves selecting those stories that you think will tell the story that you want to tell about yourself. We speak what we want to be the truth in some ways.
So I think it was because of my unique background at the Snuggle Inn that I was able to be creative in the formation of day treatment centers for the chronically mentally ill. I thought, ooh, let's make it creative. We'll have games, activities, because they have to learn rules. I mean, everyone has to learn rules in society, whether you're developmentally disabled or schizophrenic or basic average neurotic.
With a striped referee outfit and my whistle and a yellow flag, and teach people, like, if you don't talk good, you're going to get a penalty. Boom, foul.
We had art classes, made collages, cut paste words, pictures, put them together.
I call this the dance from womb to tomb, and how you end up going and journeying through life.
And that was the 60s and early 70s. And sometimes that's not even happening now. I mean, as I get older and I see the cultural shifts, what seems to be unique and engaging in client-patient health seems to go away because of budget cuts. Budget cuts, and everything's becoming privatized. Privatized, and people aren't feeling a sense of responsibility to take care of each other and to serve the least of these. See? So now I'm living. I, who loved and valued serving the least of these, the poor and the outcast, I did not realize as I was serving and had that passion for healing work that I would become one. See, because now I live on $924
a month. $924 with $96 taken out for that Medicare. Everybody's got to pay their fair share if we want to be a United States of America.
Because he's just my beer.
He was very handsome. I thought he was smart, and because he had good ideas on how to solve the problems. When Hillary was deciding whether to stay with him or not after the scandal, I wrote a letter to her and said, just stay with him.
He came here about 15 years ago to speak at the, what do you call it, the Coliseum. It was him and Gore, you know, the VP.
And that day I was moving. I moved from the one apartment to another one that day, see. And she called me and said, Mom, you know, Clinton's going to be speaking this morning. I said, well, Judy, I'm moving. Come on, you got to go. Almost didn't.
So he comes out. Clinton comes out. And all the college kids are shaking his hand. And I thought, well, I'm not going to miss out on this. So there's 5 rows of empty seats, see? And then there's a receiving line. And so I walk up, and there are these 2 college boys there. And I says, darn it, I'm throwing kisses at him, and he can't see me. And this is a true story. I wish you could have seen these 2 college boys, one on each arm, pick me up and carry me. Those seats were curved. We could have fallen and plucked me down right in front of the receiving line. This is God's truth. So he comes to me. Clinton comes to me. And I says, I write to you, President Clinton. Now, okay, give me your hand. I'll show you what he did. He took my hand like this. Inside of his hands are rough from playing golf. And he says, thank you, dear. And I about swooned. Those bodyguards must have got a kick out of that.
And I reeled back. I've lived. And my college boys were there to help me back down again. And I had to sit for about a half hour before I could walk home.
My 2 lovely granddaughters, that's them on the wall, I said to their father, Richard, maybe, he said, you want to take the girls with you on a trip? They said, oh, we'll take care of you, Grandma. Well, I don't need anyone taking care of me, but I wouldn't mind some companions. So we went on the Song of Norway. Good old Norwegian ship. There came the talent night. They have that sort of thing. They said, come to the Fox Level 4th floor lounge. The girl said, oh, Grandma, you go entertain. I said, I don't want to do that. They said, go for it. And I said, okay, so we went there. Everybody stepped up to the table, was either singer or dancer or to tell jokes, you know, joker, comedian. They says, young lady, step right up here. They said, what do you do? I said, I play piano. So we planned a little 10-minute program. We're in Spanish territory. I played the beautiful Magdalena by Lecuona, a Spanish dance. Do you know that one? And then I said, I'll play the Fantasy Impromptu by Chopin, very technical, to show that I still had my technique. And then the jazz combo can come in. So we did that, and they said, oh, Mrs. Bates, we'd like to rehearse with you. When can we rehearse? We'll carry you, says, we'll carry you, meaning we'll take you up to this beautiful 7-foot Steinway grand piano. So I won a prize. My granddaughter said, Grandma, they ought to pay you. I said, they ought to give me a free ticket. So then I started to get sick an awful lot. Lots of colds and flus, knocked out. Week, 2 weeks. I went to the doctor, but he didn't know what it was. Well, you just tend to get sick a lot. Well, thank you very much. I went to the blood bank, and I said, I'd like to donate blood in memory of my mother. And they came back, and they said, oh, we can't take your blood.
Your blood's no good. We don't want it. And it's like, I left my body. Again, it's like, what do you mean? My blood's no good, you don't want it. What are you talking about? Well, that's when I had learned. She says you have hepatitis C.
I was infected back in the day of the state hospitals before the universal protections came in with HIV in the 80s and 90s. So now I learn that I've been living for 40 years with chronic hepatitis C. And really, I think it's a miracle. I mean, in some ways, I feel a mirror image to my mother in terms of miraculous survival and recovery. And in support group, we heard about the people who took the medications of $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and they were totally knocked out sick, couldn't get out of bed. Then their insurance companies would drop them, and of course, they lost their jobs. And I thought, gee, I live alone. That's not a good deal. I'm rolling the dice, you know? We've had slot machines and played 7-Eleven dice at the bar where I grew up at the Snuggle Inn. I'm rolling some life dice. I'm gonna try herbs.
In fact, I've got some in my pocket. I've got some lemon and lavender, and I don't leave home without my little stash.
Gonna be more conscientious about what I eat. No more alcohol. Haven't done pot, nothing for a long time.
Have you always been a nice dresser?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I take pride in the appearance. I had the cutest little 5-year-old piano student. One day she came and she said, why have you got on your Sunday shoes today? Your nice heels.
We couldn't afford to go to the beauty shop. A telephone rang. Someone named Quinlan or Quick says, we have an opening here. A 5th grade teacher has decided to get married and we need a 5th grade teacher. She said, would you be interested? I said, oh my goodness, yes. And she said, when can you come down for an interview? Can you come down now? I said, oh my goodness, no. Well, my hair was wet and in curlers. Don't tell people you can't go, right? I said, can I meet you in a couple hours? I was just honest. I said, I just washed my hair and it's in curlers. She said, oh, that's okay. Come like that.
I thought, you've got to be kidding.
I said, you're kidding. A hat and glove girl group up? No. No. Well, I did meet her 2 hours later with my hair combed out. Yes, nice. And she said, well, would you be willing to help us out just for a couple of months, just till we find someone? I said, oh, well, sure, I'll try. I'll ask my husband. He said, sure, if you want to. See, in my day, in my situation, women didn't have jobs. Oh, young married, we were librarians or teachers of elocution, elocution. I had to take elocution, memorize little poems and things and act them out. So I said, sure, I'll try. Well, I studied my teacher's manuals, and my husband couldn't get me to come to bed. It got in my blood. I wanted to stay up all night and study, work all night on schoolwork. So I went to the principal's office, and I said to the principal, Mr. Dixon, I'm going to lead a lot of materials for the Christmas program. And he said, well, we got to watch our money. And I said, well, Northview Schools, federal government built those schools. We had genuine marble windowsills in the bathroom, and a set of footlights and light-controlled panel in our multi-purpose room, and a stage and cycloramas would make the little theater down in Central High School look sick, what we had to work with. So I said, I'm going to need red organdy and green organdy and this, and he said, red and green? Well, you can only use that at Christmas. I said, oh, no. In May, we'll add little red, white, and blue, patriotic theme. And those green costumes, we'll paste or sew some flowers, spring. Oh, it was multi-purpose. Every costume I made was designed or thought of. And the materials we bought were worth the time and the effort and the money. But I had to spell it out to him. Oh my God. Tim Johnson was here last night, the congressman. And I says to him, Tim, I read in the paper how they're going to cut billions out of Medicare. These places rely on Medicare and Medicaid. What's going to happen to us? Throw us in the street? I don't think he knew what to say. I also wrote a letter about Obama. You like Obama? Yeah. Right at the beginning, when he didn't choose Hillary and become the dream team, I says, Obama, the magician. I says, Obama.
Charmed his way in the White House. The magical word of hope. I said the whole world cheered him when he won our president. I just feel hopeless now.
I do. Okay, right. First of all, what about those people who lost their homes with the foreclosures? Where are they? Unemployment? Afghanistan? I feel so betrayed. 'Cause really, I voted for him. I thought, oh my God, George Bush made such a mess of things. Now we have a savior in the White House. And now it's just about more than I can take. His wife's a bitch. She's the one who's running the place. I read somewhere that
she
she's
was
so mad
at Hillary Clinton for all the mean things she said about her husband during the campaign. That's why she had him choose Biden for vice president instead of Hillary Clinton.
Oh, and I believe it. Biden's no good. He's not vice presidential material. He should have stayed a senator. Biden's a laugh.
All together shouted now, there's no one who.
So, I've always believed in women learning to be strong, to understand and take charge of their lives. So even though I fix things with duct tape, I can get out there and hammer and nail and screw and paint and fix things and look at my finances, which can become challenging as one grows older, to understand investments and savings, and to lead and supervise, not just be the nurse, the teacher. I'm very strong. I still believe that.
I'm that era where you went and had that career and evolved as a woman, free to be, you and me. I lost my sweetie to the Vietnam War. Daryl got caught up in all of that and the draft, and my work became my family.
So I feel like an orphan. Like my mom must have felt when she was sent away to boarding school. Because now I have no parents. It's like me alone. Oh, my brother and sister are very set in their married lives and their extended families, and it's me. I don't think that women understand the shoulders on whom they stand. From the feminists of the 60s and 70s, to the suffragettes, to my
Feminists. All right. Let me give you an idea. In the 1970s, when the baby boomers came out, and Gloria Steinem, she says, "You girls can't be satisfied staying home and changing diapers. You gotta be a big shot." And boy, did it catch on, because every young girl now goes out and gets that degree. Jeannie's rare, stays home. She'd be criticized for it. So I read a story about this woman, big shot. They go out, they get that degree, and they're all alone. Go out and get drunk every night. Motherhood's abandoned. What woman do you know? Jeannie could have done anything. Smart, talented. She says to me, "Mom, I want to be a stay-at-home mom." How rare is that? I think the baby boomer generation is the most destructive that ever hit this planet.
All through years, nothing has changed as much as this generation.
They ruined family life.
They think people who are nice, kind, are weak. Instead of being sentimental, cynical, oh, it's changed.
I think that psychology replaced religion. Science. See, everything's got to be proven by science.
There's got to be a scientific proof for everything, see. They came in as free thinking, like, it's not black, it's not white, it's gray. They're not wrong, they're right, they're sort of. That is so awful.
They've taken the fun and the joy and the magic out of life, and boy, does it show. People are so depressed. I see, husbands and men are like little babies. They got to be paid attention to. A woman works, she comes home, she's tired. My God, people get married to stay together, don't they? My husband died in '71.
My husband was terminally ill, last heart attack February. He lived till June. It was touch and go. After my husband died, I just couldn't operate. I was really suffering from depression. My two sisters, San Antonio and Houston, said, "Come down and spend the summer with us." I did, but I was still suffering. Coming back home in September to my house by myself, it's time to start school, go back to teaching school. I taught for 3 weeks, and I don't know, I said, I can't do this anymore. My doctor here, Dr. Perlstein, said, "Do you think it would be well for her to send her to Mayo?" I have never had such a wonderful experience in my life. I stayed 8 weeks at Mayo. I had psychiatric treatment for all that time. So the first time I sat down with my doctor, he said, "Tell me about your childhood." I sat there for a minute and he thought I didn't hear him. He said, "Evidently it was happy." I broke into a great big smile and I said, "It was."
You know, these places are different from any other place I know. I mean, you can feel it when you walk in, can't you? They have parties. Oh, that's one thing. They have parties, and they'll serve beer and whiskey. And that's something. It's a group of people that'll never happen again. Oh, there'll be a building like this, but you know, the whole thing is Tim, the administrator. That's the way he is. I heard that when he hires people, he says, "You gotta love them." This place is rare. They love their job. You can see it.
So, I still like to sing and dance. I do my trampoline. My place is loaded with photographs. So if I'm feeling lousy, I'll get up my trampoline and sing to the 60s tunes, I Will Survive, Beatles. And when the big band comes out, I'll get right out there and do swing dancing right on the living room floor, or whenever I can do that with others. So if we're in a gathering, talking over old times, I'll say, hey, let's sing. It's only a shanty in old shanty town. Do you know this one? The roof is so slanty, it touches the ground. There's a king waiting there in a silvery crown, in a shanty in old shanty town. So, I guess those roots of poverty, it doesn't matter. I live in a trailer, but it's my mansion, and I'm the queen. And all the spirits of all the folks who've graced my life, friends and family, are there in their silvery crowns, as are those who are seated in this room. And that's the spirit I like to live with and move through life with. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please give it up for Gordy Wilson. We have 3 special guests tonight. Mary Agnes, Dorothy, and Shar, will you please stand up and take a bow?
All 3 of the women came to see the show, which was a really remarkable experience for us, and we've gotten to know them much better since that, and they've gotten to know each other.
They kind of feel like they're a part of me.
Thank you. Good night.
We'd like to be in pictures and tell you what we know. Our tales will be enlightening and make the show.
Very good.
Oh, should we do it again?
I value truth speaking and accuracy in my life and want the story authentic or true to myself. This is very
I just think that this is just...
this stream of consciousness way that she communicates is...
But I thought it...
it's incredibly...
I didn't think that we...
spontaneous.
I feel like she's thinking we did her a disservice.
There seems to be 2 levels of concern communicated here, and one of them is about detail, and one of them is about how she thinks she's being perceived as a character. It says, so is it to be factual / authentic, which that's, like, again, are those the same thing, factual and authentic? Is it to be factual, authentic, or a mix of your belief in who I say I am? I wish I had been given a chance to see script of my story for fact-check purposes.
Fact-check, that's like, paper or something. It's not a history paper, it's an oral history.
I appreciate you listening to me about some of the inaccuracies in my story.
Fact. Like, I feel when I read that, it's like, it's almost saying that I misinterpret her, but we used her words exactly.
Exactly. We don't have any control over how she said what she said.
It sounds like she just has regrets that she said what she said the way she said it.
The Snuggle-In was in Calumet City, Illinois, not Hegewisch.
Oh, Jimmy Durante did not go to the Snuggle-In. Well, that's okay.
Jimmy Durante did not go to the Snuggle-In?
Jimmy Durante, Dean Martin, Rosemary Clearney did not, to my knowledge and memory, come to the Snuggle-In.
To me, words and how they are put together matter, and their context is critical.
I have to tell you, though, even though it was like Hegewisch, and she didn't say Calumet City, and we didn't say Calumet City, I don't think it really takes away from the power of who she is and what she experienced.
I'm learning I should never speak sarcastically in sometimes telling my story to those who don't know me well.
Right in here she says, I am not trailer trash. I do not. I never for one moment thought that Char was trailer trash, or when she said that, she was being sarcastic.
Oh, she was
and that's what I loved that.
She was sending up the entire idea of trailer trash and people's prejudices.
She was smashing the, exactly.
She was like smashing the stereotype. I would be interested to ask her the question, if you could go back, would you still do this? I mean, I don't know how we cannot have some degree of interpretation about what she says.
There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he traveled very far over land and sea. He was a child with saddened eyes, but very wise indeed. And then one day, one special day, he came my way. We sat and talked of many things, fools and kings. This he said to me. He said, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and to be loved in return.
You gotta be a big shot.